The countdown began in the observatory, 72 hours. If the second warden does not descend, the first will ascend. The words burned across the cracked monitor, while the broken moon watched through the shattered dome. I stood in the silver light, blood drying beneath my nose. Merrin stood beside me. Elira stood behind us, with a fire axe in both hands, breathing like someone who had just learned fear could be useful. No one spoke. Then Merrin said, "I hate countdowns." I looked at the screen. So do I. They always assume we know what to do before the number reaches 0. We know enough. No, we know there is a tomb under Hollowmere. An ancient warden wants to climb out. The moon wants your name. And every dead thing in the valley is becoming organized. Exactly. That is not enough. It is enough to start moving. The observatory shook again. Far beneath the mountain, something roared, not loud, deep, a sound too large for one throat. The first warden was not awake yet, but he was turning in his grave. We returned to Hollowmere before dawn. The road was worse on the way back. The frozen statues whispered as we passed. Some begged, some laughed, some said my name. One whispered a name I did not recognize. Kalian. The moment I heard it, the black key on my wrist burned. I did not answer. Dr. Sen's warning remained inside my skull. Do not let it learn your true name. The problem was simple. I did not know my true name either. When Hollowmere appeared through the grey storm, the shelter looked smaller than before. A fortress is comforting until you learn something ancient is buried beneath it. At the gate, Soren waited with a work crew. His hands were red from carrying heated stones. His eyes went first to Elira, then to the blood on my coat. He opened his mouth. I said, "Do not ask if I am alive." Soren closed his mouth, smart. In the medical wing, Merrin sealed the cut on my shoulder while I studied the observatory file. The First Warden tomb, 71 hours remaining. Below the map was a locked diagram, a gate beneath Hollowmere, a second gate beneath the frozen lake, and between them, an old symbol, a circle around a flame. Merrin leaned closer. That is not the grave cell symbol. No, it looks like a furnace. The word opened an old memory, not mine, black stone. Silver-armored people kneeling around a burning engine. A woman's voice saying, "The heart furnace anchors the door." I gripped the table. Merrin noticed. "What did you see?" "A key. To the tomb. To the door before the tomb." She looked at the diagram again. The lake gate. The frozen lake was 12 kilometers east of Hollowmere. In my first life, no one went there after the black frost. People said the ice sang at night. They said shadows moved beneath it. I had ignored those stories because I died before they mattered. Now everything mattered. A scout entered the room. Movement on the lake. We thought it was shades, but the heat scope showed living signatures. Merrin read the report. A shelter or a trap? Those keep overlapping. The countdown fell to 70 hours. By noon, we left Hollowmere with 2 snow crawlers. Merrin came with medical gear and a rifle. Elira came because she knew the old city routes. Soren came because the work crew voted him useful for heavy labor, and because Elira did not object. That was interesting. I almost left him behind anyway. Then he said, "If there is a gate, someone will need to carry things." No joke, no smile, no brother. Just a fact. I let him come. The frozen lake appeared at dusk, a vast white plain beneath the black sky. Dead trees stood along the shore like thin judges. The ice was clear in places, too clear. Beneath it, shapes floated, bodies, hundreds, thousands, men, women, children, animals, cars, pieces of houses, all trapped under the frozen surface, as if the lake had swallowed a city and decided to keep it. Elira covered her mouth. Maren whispered, "They are not decaying." No. A bell rang from the center of the lake once, then again. A line of blue lanterns lit beneath the ice. The ice ahead of us split open, not breaking, but folding aside like doors. A ramp descended into the lake. Warm air breathed from below. At the bottom stood armed survivors in dark blue coats. Their leader was a woman with white hair braided over one shoulder and a saber at her hip. She was not young, but she stood like a queen who had never needed a crown. "Riven Vale," she said. "I wondered when the mountain would send its monster. I stepped down from the crawler, and you are Astra Veyne, keeper of Lakehall." I knew the name from no timeline that made her dangerous. "You know me," I said. "I know your shelter. I know your gates. I know you killed the apostle. I know the dead bowed to the moon and then fell when you raised your hand." I did not raise my hand. Stories improve while traveling. Maren muttered. Finally, someone understands public relations. Astra studied her. "You brought a doctor." "A doctor brought herself," Maren said. Astra almost smiled. Then her eyes moved to Elira and Soren. "And traitors." Elira lowered her gaze. Soren's jaw tightened. Astra turned back to me. "Why are you here?" "I need the heart furnace." The guards raised their weapons. Astra did not move. For the first time, her expression changed. "Who told you that name?" "The mountain. That is a poor source of wisdom." "It is still talking." Astra looked toward Hollowmere, hidden beyond the storm. Then she said, "Come inside before the lake hears us." Lakehall was everything. Hollowmere was not. Crowded, poor, warm in small pockets. Children slept in halls wrapped in patched blankets. Old people shared bowls of thin soup. Undanginas repaired pipes with wire and prayer. No one looked comfortable. But when Astra walked through the halls, people straightened, not in fear, in trust. That irritated me more than it should have. Astra noticed, "Your people fear you. They obey me." That was not what I said. Obedience keeps them alive. Trust makes them want to live. I looked around at the hungry faces. Trust does not fill bowls. "No," Astra said, "but it makes people share one." We reached the central chamber. Behind 3 sealed doors stood the heart furnace. It was larger than I expected. A black metal engine shaped like a flower of blades, with a white flame burning at its center. The symbol around the flame matched the observatory diagram. The moment I stepped closer, the black key on my wrist opened. The furnace answered. Its white fire leaned toward me. Astra drew her saber. Step back. I did not. This anchors the First Warden's tomb. This keeps my people warm. If I do not use it, the First Warden wakes. If I give it to you, my shelter freezes. There it was. A simple equation, one door, two groups, not enough warmth for both. In my first life, this would have been easy. Take the furnace, leave the lake, survive. But Hollowmere was no longer just mine, and Lakehall was not my enemy. Not yet. Merrin stepped between us. How long can Lakehall survive without the furnace? Astra did not lower her saber. 6 hours. How long does Riven need it? I looked at the engine. The grave cell whispered a darge. Pedros Storda, restaturn. Maybe 1 hour. Merrin narrowed her eyes. Maybe. The door under Hollowmere needs a pulse, not permanent fuel. Astra laughed once. Your plan is to remove my people's heart for maybe 1 hour because a mountain whispered at you. Yes, at least you are honest. Before I could answer, the floor shook. A low moan rolled through Lakehall. From outside, from beneath the ice, every lantern flickered. Astra went pale. Merrin looked at the ceiling. What was that? Astra whispered. The Lake Mother. The ice above Lakehall darkened. Shapes moved beyond the reinforced glass ceiling. Bodies, the thousands trapped in the lake, their heads turned downward, all at once. Astra said, when the black frost came, people ran onto the lake because the city was burning. Then the ice opened and swallowed them. Their grief never left. The ceiling groaned. Long fingers pressed against the glass from outside. Not human fingers. Too many joints. Too many hands. The Lake Mother had woken. Astra's guards ran for the doors. I grabbed her arm. You knew this thing was here. We all know what we live beneath, and you built a shelter under it. No, Astra snapped. We found a warm place and prayed the dead would stay asleep. Do not judge survival from a throne. Another impact shook the chamber. A crack spread across the ceiling. Black water leaked through. Merrin raised her rifle. Argument later. Monster now. The glass exploded. Water poured into the chamber. Hands came with it. Pale arms, frozen faces, bodies fused together in a twisting mass of grief. The Lake Mother did not have one head. It had hundreds. Every face wore the expression it had died with. Terror, anger, desperation. Astra shouted for evacuation. I opened the grave cell and dropped steel plates across the flood path. They held for 3 seconds. Then the Lake Mother tore through them. Her voices filled the chamber. Warm. Child. Mine. She reached for the heart furnace. Not us. The flame. If she consumed it, both shelters would die. I released salt into the flood water. The mother screamed. Merrin fired into the faces. Astra moved like a blade given human form, cutting frozen hands before they reached her people. Soren grabbed 2 children and dragged them behind a pipe wall. Ilara pulled a fallen nurse away from the black water. Good, everyone had found a job. The lake mother surged forward. I stepped into her path. The frost core burned in my blood. The choir shard whispered in my skull. Too many powers, too many doors. I raised my wrist. Look at me. The mother did. Hundreds of faces turned, hundreds of mouths opened, and I heard every mother who had died holding a child under the ice. The grief hit harder than any blade. For one moment, I could not breathe. These were not monsters first. They had been people first. That made killing them heavier, but not optional. I cannot give you warmth, I said, but I can give you silence. I opened the grave cell above the heart furnace and released every mirror plate I had stored after the observatory. White flame reflected across the chamber. Astra understood. She struck a lever near the engine. The furnace opened. Its fire unfolded like wings. Marin shouted, "Riven, if that light hits you directly." "It won't." I lied. The white flame struck the mirrors. I forced them into a circle around the lake mother. The fire reflected inward. Agin, Agin. A cage of heat. The mother screamed. Faces melted into steam. Hands shattered. The flood water boiled. Then the central mass opened, revealing a dark blue core shaped like a frozen heart. I lunged. The mother grabbed me. Dozens of hands closed around my arms, my throat, my coat. Voices whispered in my ears. "Stay, sleep, be ours." The grave cell opened by itself. Inside the endless black chamber, a door made of lake ice appeared. Behind it, thousands cried. The shadow on the throne whispered, "Store them." I understood the temptation. One command: take every grieving voice into myself. Save the shelter. Gain power. Become less human. I smiled through the pain. No. I drove my heated blade into the lake heart. Then I opened the grave cell, not to store the voices, but to store the water around them. The black flood vanished. For half a second, the mother had no body, only exposed grief. Astra moved. Her saber cut through the core. Marin fired. The lake heart shattered. The chamber went silent. Then, the trapped bodies above the glass ceiling stopped moving. One by one, their faces softened. For the first time since death, they looked asleep. I released the stored water outside the shelter, where it froze harmlessly over the lake. Astra stood in the wreckage, soaked and breathing hard. Her people stared at me, not with fear this time, not trust either. Something between. Astra lowered her saber. "You could have taken them." "Yes, why didn't you?" I looked at the heart furnace. "Because I am not the First Warden." The words felt true. That worried me. Astra watched me for a long moment. Then she turned to her engineers. "Prepare the furnace transfer." Her guards protested. She silenced them with one look. "Lakehall lives because Hollowmere's monster chose not to become worse. We will return the favor." The transfer took 2 hours. Astra did not give me the heart furnace. She gave me its pulse, a white flame sealed inside a black iron lantern. 1 hour, she said. Then it returns to us, or Lakehall dies. I know. If you betray us, I will come for your shelter myself. I took the lantern. If I betray you, you will not have to. For the first time, Astra smiled. Small, tired, real. As we left Lakehall, Illyra walked beside me. You could have taken the furnace, she said. Yes. Old you would have. I looked at her. The old me died outside a door. That is not an answer. It is the only one you get. She nodded. Behind us, Soren helped carry wounded children from the flooded lower hall. He did not look at me. He did not ask for praise. That, too, was new. We reached Hollowmere with 46 hours left. The mountain was waiting. Every light inside the estate turned white as we entered. The black key on my wrist opened fully. The iron lantern in my hand burned brighter. Deep below the geothermal chamber, the sealed gate woke. Stone doors older than history began to move. Marin stood beside me at the stairwell. Astra had come with us, refusing to let her furnace pulse leave her sight. Illyra and Soren remained behind, staring down into the dark. From below came the same ancient voice, older than the moon, older than the snow. Second Warden. The stairs lit one by one, downward. Into the tomb, the voice continued. You brought the heart. I tightened my grip on the lantern. The shadow from my visions whispered through the open gate. Now bring me your mercy. I looked into the darkness beneath Hollowmere. In my first life, I died because a door would not open. In this life, every door opened too easily, and I was beginning to understand why. Some doors were not locked to keep people out. Some were locked because the thing inside wanted to be found.